The North Texas economy continues to see a lot of movement right now in all areas, from housing to high tech. Here to break down these trends is Will Anderson, editor-in-chief at the Dallas Business Journal. Will, thank you so much for being here. All right, let's start with the housing market. For a long time, there seemed to be this standoff between, stubborn sellers who were not going to lower their prices and buyers facing payments that they just couldn't afford. Where do things stand right now in the housing market?
Yeah, there's a malaise hanging over the housing market. We've seen sales sag. Those prices are starting to come down a little bit, but mortgage rates are still high, and inflation has cut into consumers' wallets, and they can't afford as much of a down payment. So it's been tough. It's been a tough year if you're trying to sell a home, if you build homes, or you're a realtor trying to make deals. It's been a tough year. Maybe some balance, as you mentioned, it's returned more to a buyer's market, and that can be a good thing in a way to make prices more affordable. But yeah, tough year if you're in that business. And I had heard recently that I think there's something like 12,000 finished homes, new homes, sitting empty across North Texas. Wow. Completely empty because they can't be sold. So that is obviously a huge amount of housing waiting to go to buyers if they can be found.
Yeah, and if the prices align with what they're able to afford.
And builders have lowered prices. They offer rate buy downs, even though mortgages stay in the 6% range for a 30-year. But it's hard for anybody to pull that trigger right now when there's a lot of economic uncertainty.
Yeah. And okay, let's also talk about the Trump administration has signaled a real commitment to invest in AI and semiconductor chips. Where does sort of DFW stand when it comes to big tech?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of investment from big tech and DFW. Just this week, Texas Instruments turned on its big fabrication plant up in Sherman, the first of 4 fabs they plan up there, and that could be a $40 billion investment they talk about over a number of years. That's obviously a big deal. That's being made here in North Texas. We've reported on Google investing heavily in data centers, down in Midlothian, if you ever driven down that way, seen their big site. You kind of see it, maybe not always in your face, maybe sometimes it's nondescript office towers or these big warehouses in more rural areas, but it's there and it's underpinning, like you said, so much of the economy, so much of the global conversation around policy and technology.
Yeah, and you're seeing that more in the outskirts of the Metroplex, right? Not so much in the inner core.
Yeah, certainly the data center development, because they need land.
Space.
Yeah, they need power and water too, right? They're big users of power and water. And North Texas especially, has been a pretty good place. I believe it's now the second largest data center market in the country after Northern Virginia. So it's been a great place for that, but yeah, it tends to happen out kind of in the boonies, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously a growing industry as well. What are some of the other industries' big investments that your team is tracking right now?
Yeah, it's across the board. One thing that I think is probably worth noting is Novartis, which is one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. They want to make open a new drug making plant in the U.S., and they're looking at Denton. So we hear that it's the preferred site, you could say it's the front runner, but the company has not confirmed it's going to be going to Denton yet. But, it's a huge deal, and just this week they secured the incentives, tax breaks, grants, things like that. And I think it's really interesting because I think the average salary they say in the public documents is $124,000.
Wow.
Quite high. And when I think of high-paying pharmaceutical jobs, Denton, Texas isn't the first thing that pops into my head.
Yeah.
So this new industry, new high-paying jobs for that area. And that's just, as you said, one of the many business topics kind of coming through this week.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. Well, and overall, I know your team has done a lot of reporting on downtown Dallas and all the drama with the, City Hall and the Mavs and everything else. As we come to the end of the year, where do we stand on that right now?
I mean, it's up in the air. You're talking about City Hall. The debate is, what should we do with it, right? Should it be torn down? Should something else be done with it? And a lot of people, I think, say, and I get the reasoning, but they think that the deal's already been decided, that it's done. I don't think that's the case. I think city leaders are looking at this, trying to think about what's best for the city, for the people who live here. So I think that's a debate that still has to be settled, and there's a chance for your voice still to be heard if you want to call your council person. But downtown has been hit in the mouth a little bit too. It has some setbacks. But there's also so much opportunity down here. There's more people living downtown than ever before. There's a lot of innovative ideas happening downtown. It's just not the downtown of 20 years ago where you can just, office space is just a no-brainer. but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it means that you can breathe new life into Dallas, whether that's a stadium, whether that's a city hall in a different location. I don't know, but there's some interesting possibilities.
All right. Well, I'm a subscriber. I feel a lot smarter when I read the DBJ. So, Will Anderson, the CEO, thank you so much for sharing some of that insight.
Thank you.
All right.